Hey friends, Chubby Meeple here with another Kickstarter preview for you. Today we're going to take a look at Combo Fighter. This is a co-publishing effort between Plotmaker Games and Kolossal Games on Kickstarter now. You can hit the link in the bottom for more information about the game. But for this video, we're going to jump over to the table. I'll show you how the game plays, give you a quick overview of the simple gameplay that is there, and then we'll come back here to the table and I'll tell you what I think of Combo Fighter. To play a game of Combo Fighter, each player will select one character and collect that character's player card or player reference sheet with all of their signature combos, as well as a breakdown of the cards they have. They'll collect the special power tile for that character that will describe that player's special abilities throughout the game. They will look through the deck of cards. Each character has their own deck specific to that character. So in this case, we have Grace Lee, who has her portrait on the back of all of her cards. In this deck are 5 starter cards that will all have an S in the lower corner. So you're going to find the 5 starter cards for your character and set those aside. So that will be your starting hand at the start of the game. You're then going to take the deck of cards that you have. There are 50 other cards outside of your 5 starting cards. You will take your KO card. This will indicate when your hero has been KO'd or is staggering. And you're going to place that on the bottom of the shuffled deck to form your draw deck. Now this deck is not only going to function as the cards you use for your fight, it also functions as your health. So as you take damage, you will be discarding cards off the top of that deck. So we have Grace Lee set up with her deck, her character card, her power card, and her 5 starting cards. Her opponent up here, Gakir Bako, has his player card, his power tile, his deck of cards, and his starting 5 cards as well. Gameplay in Combo Fighter is going to take place over a series of rounds. And the way the game works is it uses a modified rock, paper, scissors mechanic. And you'll see on the player card, you will see a breakdown of this rock, paper, scissors mechanic. Blue being your defense cards, red being attack cards, yellow being footwork cards. And in this modified rock, paper, scissors mechanic, blue, your defense cards, defeat the red attack cards, which defeat the yellow footstep cards or footwork cards, and those yellow cards defeat the blue defense cards. So what's going to happen here is players will each select simultaneously a card that will be played face down, to represent their first card and start off their combo. So each player will simultaneously select a card. These cards will be revealed simultaneously. And then using the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, you will determine who wins the combo. In this case, yellow defeats blue, or in all cases anyway, yellow defeats blue. So in the example that we have here, Grace's spin maneuver has defeated Gakir's block. So Gakir's simply going to discard his block card into his discard pile. It's not going to do him any good. The player controlling Grace can now combo off of this spin card. And if you take a look at the left-hand side of the card, you'll see a series of symbols. This top symbol here is the symbol of this specific spin card. So in this case, we have a yellow triangle. And then you have a red triangle and a blue triangle that are showing down here on the side. This indicates these are the types of cards that can be comboed off of Grace's spin card. So I can look in my hand, if I'm controlling the Grace character, I can look in my hand and I can play any of the cards in my hand that have a red triangle or a blue triangle on them. And I also want to be paying attention to my signature combos, because if I can combo cards in the specific order that are showing on the cards, I can do some extra damage. So I see that if I already have a yellow triangle, if I'm able to play a red triangle followed by a blue triangle, I can set off this Spitting Cobra combo, which is one of Grace's combos, and do 7 damage to my opponent. So I can do so. I can take this red triangle and I can play this on the yellow, because the yellow allows me to combo a red triangle. So we drop that down. And now this card is the new card I must combo off of. So I can use a red square, a blue triangle, or a yellow triangle. I happen to have a blue triangle. I also have the red square that I could use. But in this case, we're going to use the blue triangle, and we play that down. I could then combo further if I had a red triangle, a yellow triangle, or a yellow square card. I do not, so my combo is going to end there. So I will simply set aside, and we will total up the damage that is done. Now normally, damage would be totaled based on the numbers printed on these cards. So you'd have your opening damage, and then the second number on each of these cards is your combo damage. So if we were doing this just for the damage printed on the cards, we would do a total of 4 damage. Nothing for the first card, 2 for the second card, 2 for the third card. We do a total of 4 damage. However, yellow triangle, red triangle, blue triangle equals the Spitting Cobra for Grace Lee, which does 7 damage. So we've now hit Gakir with a Spitting Cobra combo, and the player controlling Gekir would discard 7 cards off the top of Gekir's deck. So we'll pull those off. There's 7 cards. Those simply get discarded. So that is now less cards Gekir has. I will then discard my cards into my discard pile. Each player will then draw back up to a hand of 5 cards. So the Gekir player needs 1 card. Grace, because she played 3, will draw 3 cards to add to her hand. And we start a new round where we each will select a we each will select a card that we're going to play. We play that face down. So we drop those face down. We reveal simultaneously. And in this case, the Gekir player would win because he played a blue card, which always beats a red card. So Grace would discard this card. And now Gekir can combo. And his card allows him to combo with a yellow triangle or a yellow circle with a star in it. Now, anytime you see these icons that have stars in them, like this blue one with a star, this yellow icon here, that indicates priority, meaning that if cards get turned up, so for example, if Grace had played a blue card from her hand for defense purposes, and those cards would have been flipped over, normally blue and blue would cancel each other out. However, because this wrestle card has the star, it takes priority and actually wins ties. Same is true for the yellow cards, yellow versus yellow. Those footstep cards will cancel each other out unless one of the yellow cards has the priority marker on it. With the red cards work a little differently. If, for example, if the 2 cards that had been played, Grace had played this card, the Tiger Slash, and Gekir had played his Hammer Fist, red versus red, what we do is we look at the initiative values, and the only way these cards would cancel each other out is if the initiative values are equal to one another. In this case, Grace's is higher at 3, so the Tiger Slash would actually win, Hammer Fist would get discarded, and the Grace player would be able to combo off of the Tiger Slash card. We should also look at the special abilities of these characters. Grace Lee, for example, begins the game with a bow staff. This gives her, all of her red cards a +3 initiative value, and those red cards each red card will deal an extra damage as well. When she plays her Phoenix Strike card, which is one of the cards that is in her starting hand, when she plays her Phoenix Strike, it does an amazing amount of damage, but she breaks her bow staff, and this causes her to flip this card. So we flip the token over, and this just shows that she has a broken staff, and she has to finish the fight with a broken staff, meaning she no longer gets those bonuses to initiative and damage on her red cards. With our Gekir Bako player up here, Gekir is a wrestler. And every character always starts with their A side up. Gekir's A side reads that in a round where he takes at least 1 damage, you're going to add 2 to the total damage taken because he's a poor blocker. So if he takes 3 damage, for example, you're going to add 2 to that. You're going to discard 5 cards from his pile. So he's going to actually take 5 damage. And he also cannot play any signature combos. So the signature combos listed on his character card up here cannot be played while this A side is up. Once he wins a round with the wrestle card, so he started this round with this wrestle card here, once he's won the round with that, he can flip this token. So he flips to the B side, and now Gekir can play signature combos. The opponents cannot. Gekir is now also immune to any damage. All of his red cards now deal triple damage, and once he loses a round, meaning he loses one of these rock, paper, scissors fights against his opponent, then he'll flip this back over. The opponent breaks free, he flips this back over to side A, and in that round where he loses the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, he is still immune to damage for that round. So he still won't take damage in that round, but at the end of the round, he'll still have to flip this token back over to the A side, meaning he's no longer able to do signature combos, and he starts taking extra damage. So there's a good balance to play with that character. The game is going to continue with players taking damage and discarding cards off the top of their deck until this bottom stagger card is revealed. Once the bottom stagger card is revealed on one player, they are now 1 hit away from losing. They're going to take their deck, they're going to reshuffle it, they're going to set it up, they're going to draw back up to their full hand of 5 cards, and now the next damage that Grace takes in this particular example, Grace would lose the fight. It is possible that Grace could knock Gekir's deck down and get him KO'd as well, and now its next hit wins. There are also possibilities, it's extremely rare, but it is possible for the 2 opponents to knock each other out at the same time, in which case the game is just a draw. And that is how you play Combo Fighter. I want to take a look at a few other characters that are available as part of the Combo Fighter Kickstarter. What we saw was equals Grace Lee and Gakir Bako. A couple of the other characters I want to show off, and there are others in addition to these as well, but just with the prototype copy that I have here, I also have Francisco Ferro. Now, Francisco, on the back of these cards, gives you a little bit of, all of the character cards have this little bit of backstory information, a map of where they're from, their fighting style, that type of thing, kind of their backstory. Francisco has a few combos here that deal some extra damage, and you can see on here if you're able to deal this fourth bit of the combo. So if I deal just these first 3, I do 6 damage on the Bone Crusher. If I happen to be able to add the yellow triangle, damage bumps up to 8. So you can see these on the damage values on this particular character. You also have a breakdown of the cards that are in the deck and the number of each. There's a breakdown of how many red, how many blue, and how many yellow cards, and all of the characters have that same stat line on it. Francisco Ferro's special power, again, he starts with his A side up. He shows no pain, so when the opponent deals damage to him, he flips his token. So the first time he takes damage, he flips to the B side. When he's on the B side, when he's playing a card or a signature combo, he can choose to have that damage doubled. So if he pulls off one of his signature combos, so let's say he were able to pull off the top combo, the Power Punch, with the blue, the yellow, and the red triangle, normally would do 5 damage. However, with this special ability, I could choose to do double damage and deal 10, and if I do, I simply flip this back over, and then it would flip if he takes damage. So that is Francisco's power. The other character in here is Kagami Yoshida. Kagami hails from Japan. We look back here, she's skilled in the fighting style of Aikido, and she has a very unique power. You'll notice she has a lot of footwork cards in this deck, a few defense cards, and a really low number, or a fairly low number of the fighting cards. The attack cards that are on here. She's got some signature combos. Notice all of her signature combos actually do zero damage on them. A lot of her cards are very much low damage cards, if any damage. But what's unique about Yoshida is she has kind of her own rule set here, where she's trying to submission hold her opponent. What she ends up doing here is that on the back of her card, you have the rules on side A. Once you read the rules and you understand the rules of side A, you will flip her token to side B. And the way this works is you'll start with side B with this number 1 triangle facing upward or pointing at your opponent. If Yoshida wins a round, meaning she wins that rock, paper, scissors, her tile's going to rotate 90 degrees to 2. It'll rotate again to 3, again to 4. For every time she wins a rock, paper, scissors, it's going to continue to rotate. And if it ever rotates back around to number 1, she automatically wins the match. The caveat, though, let's say she wins a rock, paper, scissors and moves to 2. She wins on opening round again with a rock, paper, scissors and moves to 3. And then the next round she loses 1. This actually resets her back to 1. So if she's ever able to win 4 of the rock, paper, scissors matches that start each round, if she's ever able to win 4 of those in a row, she will automatically win the game. And that's just an idea of some of the other characters that you will see as part of the Kickstarter for Combo Fighter. So that's Combo Fighter, again, published by Plotmaker Games and Kolossal Games on Kickstarter now. Again, you can hit the link down in the description of this video for more information, get more details about the campaign, and to pledge your support. What do I think of Combo Fighter? First of all, great 2-player head-to-head game. There's each player having their own starting cards, their own deck, their own player powers. The asymmetry is fantastic. Each player plays very differently, or each character plays very differently. So in the case of Grace, she starts off really powerful. When I play one powerful card, it breaks my staff. I flip my card over, or I flip my tile over, and now I don't have those abilities anymore. Other players start weaker and get stronger as the game goes on. Whether they may become impervious to damage, they may gain extra powers, maybe they do extra damage. So those types of things will happen. First of all, I love the art style on this. Just the character art, very much reminiscent of the old Street Fighter, Tekken style games. I do like that. It's also got that comic book feel. Especially on some of the power cards where they put in some of the, the old school Batman, wham and swoosh and those kinds of noises like you see in the old comic books. I thought that was really cool. I also really like the decision by the artist to not do a lot with the background of the cards. I like how, if I look at these character cards, the character is what pops out. It's not so much backgrounds and colors. There's not colors for the character to get lost in and the move that they're doing. So I really like that decision as well. Again, the asymmetry is fantastic. I really enjoy how each character plays differently than others may play. That's a lot of fun. Gives a real unique play to it. Every character is different, so every game feels different. And even the matchups. I may play the same character every time, but if my opponent plays different characters, now I have to adjust the way that I'm playing my character based on my opponent's distribution of cards. And that's a really unique obstacle as well to try and overcome some strategy to it. The rock, paper, scissors mechanic at face value sounds pretty light, but because it's just the start of the round and then I get to combo off of that if I win the rock, paper, scissors battle at the beginning of each round, it's very light. But it still does do some depth of strategy, because while blue cards generally cancel each other out, yellow cards cancel each other out, those priority cards, having a blue card that has the priority star or a yellow card that has the priority star, gives you some benefits, and a lot of those will play into combos. Having to determine, do I play this card now, knowing that it's not doing any extra damage to my opponent? Or do I hold it? Maybe I can knock out a combo. Because just because you can combo something doesn't mean you necessarily should. Because remember, your deck is your life. So as you're playing 3-4 extra cards, if they're not doing any damage or they're not doing a lot of damage, maybe you want to hold on to those. Because if you play 3 or 4 cards, now you've got to draw 3 or 4 more off your deck, and you're just that much closer to being staggered. So there are some interesting decisions that need to be made. In the playthrough video, I showed the 2-player game. We saw Grace versus Baco. There are other characters. I showed some of the characters. There are more characters over and above what I showed in my walkthrough video. There are also some other variants for how the game can be played. I've tried one variant. We played a 3-player free-for-all version one time, but there is a 3-player variant, or you can even play it 4-player, where it is a battle royale. So it's my turn, I battle the player to my left, then it becomes their turn, they battle the player to their left, and it goes around the table until there's only one fighter standing, and that fighter is the winner. You can also play a free-for-all, and this is how we played it, 3 players, where when it's my turn, I pick one of the other opponents at the table to do a battle with, and then play passes to the player to my left. They do the same, picking an opponent rather than just automatically doing the one to your left every time. I find that actually frees up things a little bit in terms of not necessarily facing the same opponent every time. I have to get through this person before I can fight the one across the table. I really like being able to switch that up. There's also a team variant, so you can play 2 versus 2, where you have your A team and your B team. Player A1 versus player B1, player A2 versus player B2, each with their own characters. You're scoring points for victories in those fights, and then you switch it up, A1 versus B2, A2 versus B1, and the team that comes out on top with the most points is the winning team. So there are a couple different ways you can play Combo Fighter as well, in addition to just the straight 2-player game. There are also some great Kickstarter stretch goals that are part of this campaign, new fighters, for example. There's also a really unique mechanism that adds arenas. So now you have a location where your fighters are battling it out that may affect the gameplay in terms of maybe extra damage is being dealt. Maybe certain things are happening with certain types of cards. There's some of the arenas that I've seen anyway have had kind of a track that moves back and forth as battles are won or as rounds are won. That rock, paper, scissors, I move things down, or maybe if I pull off a combo, I move things toward my opponent, and I can end up winning if I push that token all the way to the other side of my all the way to my opponent's side of the arena. So there's just various ways to switch it up. So again, just furthering the replayability. That's Combo Fighter. Absolutely fantastic game. Plays very quickly. Again, you can hit the link down below to jump over to the Kickstarter page, get more information, pledge your support. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm happy to respond and answer those as much as I can. And until next time, keep gaming, friends.